Have you ever watched your whole world collapse through the blue light of a phone screen? I saw it in the reflection of my wife's glasses as she slept, her face serene, an angel in the dim glow of our Chicago bedroom. The screen was angled just so, and a name I didn't recognize glowed in a chat bubble. Mark. The message was simple, dagger wrapped in innocence. Last night was incredible. Can't stop thinking about you. My heart didn't just break, it atomized. I stood there, a ghost in my own home, watching the last thread of my old life burn away. She thought she was playing a game, but she didn't know I was the one who wrote the rules. If you genuinely enjoy our stories, please subscribe to the channel. Tell us where you're from and what time it is right now. It's always fascinating to know how far our story flows. The first sign wasn't the text, it was the silence. Amelia, my wife of 5 years, had always been a fountain of chatter, filling our Lincoln Park apartment with stories about her day at the art gallery, her friends, her dreams. Then the fountain dried up. It started with her phone, a constant companion that was suddenly always face down, always on silent. "It's for work, honey," she'd say, her smile a little too bright, a little too brittle. "The gallery is so demanding," I believed her. I was a fool, but I was a loyal fool. I'd come home from my job as an architect, my mind full of blueprints and building codes, and find her distant, lost in a world behind her screen. The air grew thick with things unsaid. Dinners at our favorite spot, the gauge on Michigan Avenue, became tense, punctuated by the phantom buzz of her phone and her purse. She'd glance at it, a flicker of a smile playing on her lips, and I'd feel a cold dread snake its way up my spine. I was being humiliated in slow motion, a spectator to my own life's demolition. She started working late, gallery events that I was never invited to, receipts from expensive restaurants I'd never heard of, Uber's 2 addresses in River North I didn't recognize. Each one was a small paper cut, bleeding me dry of trust. She became a master of manipulation, turning my questions back on me. "Why are you so insecure all of a sudden? Don't you trust me?" Her voice, once my comfort, was now a weapon. She and this invisible Mark felt untouchable, wrapped in a cocoon of lies I couldn't seem to penetrate. The breaking point came on a rainy Tuesday. I found a credit card statement for a stay at the Thompson Chicago, a hotel just a few miles from our home. A work conference, she had claimed. My hands shook as I dialed the hotel, my voice a stranger's in my own ears. The reservation was for 2. I hung up and the world went gray. I sat on the floor of my office, the city lights of Chicago blurring through the rain-streaked window, and I wept. Not loud, racking sobs, but the silent, gut-wrenching tears of a man who has lost everything. That was the night the architect died, and the demolition expert was born. My grief hardened into something cold and sharp. I would not just leave. I would dismantle her world, piece by piece, just as she had dismantled mine. The first step was the vasectomy. Told her I was going on a work trip to a conference in Dallas. Instead, I went to a clinic in a quiet suburb. It was a simple, sterile procedure, a secret I locked away behind a calm smile. While she was out building her fantasy, I was laying the foundation for my revenge. I started gathering proof. I installed a keylogger on her laptop, a small, undetectable piece of software that captured every keystroke. I read their emails, their plans, their sickeningly sweet nothings. Mark was a colleague from a rival gallery, smug and self-assured in his digital footprint. They mocked me, my work, my love for her. I saved every word. I hired a private investigator, a grizzled ex-cop, who documented their meetings at coffee shops, their walks along the lakefront, their entrances into boutique hotels. He gave me a folder thick with photographs, each image a nail in her coffin. The legal traps came next. I consulted a lawyer, a shark in a tailored suit, who advised me on how to protect my assets. I moved my inheritance into a trust she couldn't touch. I documented every cent she spent from our joint account on her affair. I was building a fortress, and she had no idea she was about to be left outside in the cold. Then came the masterstroke. She started talking about having a baby. "Isn't it time, honey?" she'd ask, her eyes wide with false sincerity. A baby would fix everything. I played along, the devoted husband, eager to start a family. It was the most difficult performance of my life. 3 months later, she sat me down, her hands trembling, a pregnancy test clutched in her fist. She was crying, but they were tears of triumph. "We're pregnant," she announced, her voice thick with emotion. She thought she had just secured her future. She had no idea she had just sealed her fate. The trap was set. I waited 2 more weeks, letting her announce the good news to her family, our friends. I watched her bask in the congratulations, her smugness, a radiant glow. I chose the venue for the reveal carefully, her parents' 40th anniversary party. It was a grand affair at a country club in Lake Forest, filled with her family's influential friends. I stood up to give a toast, a glass of champagne in my hand. I started by congratulating her parents. Then I turned to Amelia. And to my beautiful wife Amelia, I said, my voice steady, ringing through the silent room. "Who has given me the most incredible news? We're expecting." The room erupted in applause. Amelia beamed, her hand resting on her stomach. I let the applause die down. "The only problem is," I continued, my voice dropping to a cold, clear tone, "I had a vasectomy 6 months ago." You could have heard a pin drop. The silence was a physical thing, heavy and suffocating. I looked at Amelia. The color drained from her face, her smile frozen in a grotesque mask of horror. I pulled out the folder from the pie and tossed it on the table in front of her father. "I believe this belongs to you," I said. "It seems your daughter has been collaborating with a competitor." Her father, a powerful man in the city, opened the folder. His face went from confusion to fury as he flipped through the photos. The whispers started, then grew into a roar of scandal. Amelia just stood there, exposed, shattered. Her mother was crying. Her father looked at her with a contempt I had never seen before. I didn't stay to watch the rest. I simply placed my wedding ring on the table next to the folder of her betrayal and walked out. I didn't look back. The divorce was brutal, but swift. My evidence was ironclad. She got nothing. Her family disowned her. Mark, the coward, disappeared the moment the scandal broke, leaving her to face the fallout alone. She lost her job, her friends, her reputation. She was ruined, a ghost in the city that once adored her. Sometimes late at night, I look out over the Chicago skyline from my new apartment, the one she'll never see. The city is a sea of lights, a million stories unfolding in the darkness. Mine is just one of them. I don't feel triumph or joy or even satisfaction. I just feel quiet. The architect in me is gone for good. The last I heard, she moved to a small town somewhere in the Midwest, trying to escape the echoes of her own making.
The end.